Sorry, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Flight or Bites with Flight Bites with Ben. I totally messed it up. Flight Bites with Ben today. Tonight we're just doing an open forum Q&A because there's so much going on right now with the flight. So I think this is probably the best just to get these questions answered, and hopefully we can get everybody, get get everyone the help they need. So Ben, you ready to tackle on these questions?
I am so ready. I mean, is the war over already? I mean, everyone happy? Yes, it's almost Friday. Good God, does it matter? But yes, thank you so much, Jen. Everyone, good afternoon and welcome. Pardon the delay here, but if you haven't seen Iron Man 2, I am sure there is a lot to unpack there in regards to what's happening in our world today. But as Jen said, and as we had Brandon point out, there are problems. And problems right now, the hardest thing to talk about is what's going to happen next. I was talking with Jen yesterday, I think, and even other people. The whole thing about what we predict in the industry as far as where to book, when to book, how to book, what sales are going on, kind of has it's all gone out the window. We can forecast as much as we want, but as long as this ongoing war in the Middle East and other problems in the world, of course, including the government shutdown ongoing here in the US. Gosh, could you ask for more of a craziness, a bit all happening together at once? But today, yes, there's going to be a lot of points where I think just everyone, if you have something to say, if you have questions, go ahead, just interject because there's not going to be a theme here other than the fact of I'm just going to go off the narrative of who's affected most. I think right now, obviously, airlines and the industry as a whole, it really doesn't matter where you live and how often you fly. If you deal with the travel industry at some point, it's all going to be affected by what's going on over there. Unfortunately, oil prices are through the roof. We're seeing, the continuous escalation of problems as far as fighting and bombing and all that stuff across the Middle East does not help. I mean, it's kind of odd, I think, when you get those emails from the tourism board from Israel and Jordan and Egypt, and though even Egypt is further out, it's just unfortunate because, of course, people are going to stop, or cancel or think otherwise about going anywhere near. And for good reason, though, unfortunately, it does affect a lot of people because when the tourism dollars or what people rely on, especially countries. I mean, you just think about those three airlines in the Middle East out of the UAE. We have Etihad out of Abu Dhabi. We have Emirates out of Dubai, Qatar out of Qatar, and Coke's other airlines in the region. But we're talking about some major carriers that no matter where you live, if you have travelers going there, there's disruption. I mean, these airlines are putting their planes in other directions and in other routes that don't even exist normally, just so that they can get by. Um, And ultimately, what can you predict is if this ongoing mess compiled with the ongoing half government shutdown continues, well, things just get worse. And what we're seeing already is governments telling countries in certain places to already work from home, to do less for the sake of minimizing the use of fuel and oil and gas and all that stuff, which is kind of crazy because we haven't heard that talk really since the pandemic when the world was shut down in a lot of ways. And so here we are. Everyone who has travel planned within the next few months, I mean, as they're saying, keep your tickets, just be ready for disruptions, prepare to go to the airports for longer. But I think no matter where you live, small airport or not, big airport or not, everyone's affected. The smaller airports, they're saying, is going to probably be the most affected in the sense of if this government shutdown continues to be canceled out completely so that they don't have to deal with those, as far as staffing goes. We have less TSA agents. I don't know what the number was last night, but this morning again, but it last night, they're talking about over like 400 agents quit because they've gone on, agents as in TSA and people working at the airports across the US alone because of the shutdown, not being paid. And that affects already the delays in travel as far as lines go. And then, of course, couple that with what's going on where you want to go, especially those places in the Middle East, it's just a mess. So who thinks they have seen the biggest mess so far? Because honestly, depending on where you live. I'm pretty sure it's all relative, but of course, what you see in the news and a lot of it might be just over exaggeration, but there's a lot of truth to it. And so it's not to just, just totally ignore it. You can't if you work in the industry. Is anyone feeling anything more particular as far as with regards to travel, flights, or plans and trips planned for this summer or in the next few months? Feel free
There.
to.
No, I have clients leaving. I've been sending them to, I mean, Cancun and Aruba actually. Um, Multiple this month and next month. Um, they have not, but they've been flying out of St. Louis. I do have one. They're getting ready to go out of Columbia, the regional airport, very small airport. That's when I'm flying out of too in April. But they have not had any, like they said it was very easy. St. Louis, they just walked right in. And now Kansas City, I actually just found this one out not too long ago, but it's a privately run airport. So they don't have the TSA agents. I mean, they
But,
have the TSA agents, but they're like is it privately subcontracted or something? Is that what I'm understanding?
well, the government, either that or a completely different firm that has associated, agents that work there. So if it is MCI you're talking about,
Hmm.
they are a private airport and there are those across the country, but still, nonetheless, it's just a connectivity to those private airports, even if they are fully staffed, are just going to have the delays. And so then, and therefore, everything at that even private airport that fully staffed will still be delayed. Hence, is it worth it to even fly, a plane that's half full or almost empty? And that's what we're going to start seeing is the smaller airports might not at the very moment show it, but they're bleeding dry, in regards to money and also just the dealing with what potentially could happen. Because if the government starts shutting down airports, they'll start with the small ones, these are more regional ones. The Columbia one would be probably first before even MCI gets, affected. St. Louis will still maintain because it is a major for the area, but it's those major ones that will keep open its doors because that requires the most staff. MCI, how would you say, is not huge, it's not small. It's not
It's not
Columbia
small.
size.
They redid it. So now there's two, there's an A and a B.
Satellites? Yeah.
Yeah. So they redid it, but it used to be small a couple years ago, a few years ago, but they redid it a few years ago.
It was just like a big round thing. I hated that
Uh-huh.
airport because you
Yeah.
had to go out and out.
It used to be so easy to just go. Like we were dropped off and walk in and there's your thing, security, and you're in the gates. Like it was so easy. But now
And
it's
now, because it doesn't matter if you have TSA pre-check and all that clear stuff, because a lot of that requires additional staff, which aren't around either, mainly because the fact is there's too much demand on what they would do because not enough people do clear or whatever or have TSA pre-check, so they have to reshuffle staff into other departments or areas of the airport.
so
But I think,
would it,
go ahead.
sorry, would it make sense to get TSA pre-check right now? Like if you're flying?
Yeah, but here's the thing: the whole purpose of TSA pre-check is really just to keep people so that they have an access to get cleared sooner. There's a different line, obviously. You see that goes faster. Those people who are government agents will have to be repurposed elsewhere, not for just a specialty line, just so that they can let us select few in faster. The whole point of it is to expedite your process. But because there's not enough agents over here, they're going to take them from over here, not waste them over on something that has only a few people in mind, whereas there's 1,000 over here. Deal with 1,000 as one. That's the unfortunate part of it. So no matter what you have, even if you're flying first class or you're the top million miler, whatever for the airline, you literally have to own the airline to get some precedence to say, hey, let me ahead of you, because what they're seeing is even people who are other gate agents or staff workers or flight attendants are still in that line with everybody else because there's not enough to just screen people through the front door. That's crazy. When you think of a major airport like Atlanta, Houston, JFK, LAX, the lines are long, but they're only going to get longer because airlines are now sending bigger planes or canceling out flights, and in turn also taking their staff from these small regional flights and putting them under the main line, main hubs to get the capacity going. We're talking about major things like Chicago, LAX, New York, LA, San Francisco. Those are the ones that are going to try to, keep alive first and longer. Smaller ones, which has only like room for like 12, 15, 20 people. Those planes, I don't know. They're probably going to set them, just have them sit them on a tarmac. You're going to start seeing them pile up, if anything, like they did in the pandemic. It's kind of scary.
So I remember when COVID hit, um, and my son had to fly to Houston. They flew him down to Houston to pick up a truck and drive back. Um, he was like one of five on the plane. Like he he absolutely loved it. Is would they, I mean, I guess my question is how is this comparable to with the wars and everything, with the war and the fuel prices and stuff? I mean, we dealt with high fuel prices before, but how is this comparable with COVID? Since that's kind
Well,
of like the most recent, I'm trying to get at like
because during COVID, everything was
shut down.
all shut down. There's no like, oh, you could go here to this airport because that runs still. There's no. Unlike COVID, where we had really no options. It was like all or nothing. This is we have all our we have something, but not all. We're at that point of assessing to see what's happening. And again, really, it comes down to if this government shutdown doesn't get figured out. It doesn't matter what the oil prices and issues, the war are going on because that already in effect is always something in the back of your mind. But now we can't even travel on our own term. We're not trying to avoid bombs here in the United States. We're just dealing with the cost of prices, which are crazy. I mean, to fill up your pump, I guess, who has really high gas right now as far as prices go? Anyone?
Ours is like 319.
LA is still over $5. Can you imagine paying $5 plus in Missouri?
No, we did that a few years ago. It was like four something, I remember.
Raquel, where are you from? 5.99?
No kidding.
Because that is crazy.
Yes,
And
I'm
keep
out
in
in the
mind,
IE. I
yeah,
don't know, because you're in California too, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm in the IE. I'm in like I don't know if you know Riverside area or
everyone, just in case you wanted to know.
yeah.
So you have it at 5.99 right now, is what you're seeing?
Yeah, well, that's for premium. I have to put premium in my car. So yeah.
And what about, have you seen just out of off chance what diesel prices are? Because that's the kicker for a lot of obviously trucks and
I
transportation.
know it's gone up. I don't know. I couldn't give you an exact price on it though.
Well, it's fine. It's just a matter of it's interesting. We are about the 5.30 mark here. At least I saw in Sherman Oaks, and I was calling last night, yesterday.
Yeah, the regular is about 530.
My
But
Yeah.
son, to fill up his diesel truck here in Missouri, it's over $100.
okay, how big is this darn truck though? Right, that takes
Well,
like
there's a 3/4 ton, I guess. But
yeah.
his dump truck, I don't know how much he's put in there. I guess I can ask him. Um,
Text to see how much that costs because as that goes, just to talk about the industry, Uber drivers I know that I've taken in the last few days have been saying they have to seriously consider quitting and or
Yeah.
either doing another thing like Uber Dash or something or Uber Eats or something just to kind of supplement the point in time because for them to be on the road to make a $9 tip over a 4 hour time period using that amount of gas driving everywhere for what? They're already
Their
losing money.
prices don't automatically go up with the gas prices going up. You would think they would be able to adjust the cost or the app would adjust or something. I
Well,
don't know, the
it's
algorithm.
ready. I've already seen it adjusting at least here in LA, costing
Okay.
for a ride that should have been like $2 less normally.
Right. Okay.
That's even off peak or whatever they talk about. And it really depends on where you live. It's just in a place like LA where they have thousands of drivers.
Yeah.
They're all second guessing the whole point of should I get just getting out of the driveway is costing me more money than I'll make today.
Right.
And that's kind of crazy to think. But that in turn has an effect on, well, who's taking people to the airport? Okay, it's going to cost people getting to the airport more just to get on the plane that now is probably way more expensive in a sense because the demand is higher and inventory is less. Plus, you have to get there 5 hours earlier. That's a
Oh, so his dump truck's about 100-gallon tank. So
that's a
times that
lot
by
of money.
five.
Five?
Well, however much a diesel is, I mean, it's more than
Oh yeah,
than
it's way more
regular.
than that.
So it's probably $500-600 to fill up a dump truck. Probably more than that.
Yeah, and it's so you think about it, companies who have to send out trucks just to repair roads or what have you, that's costing them a ton of money, which means in turn they're going to start trying to minimize the amount of staff they have, amount of vehicles going out. This is just going to have a resounding effect, and the massive is what they're saying. TSA lines across the country are not just subject to the major airports, even the smaller ones like MCI. There just is not enough people to go around. And to think about it, not to blame and talk about politics, but the solution initially at the beginning this week was let's send in ICE agents to supplement for agents who are not there. Well, that doesn't help because you already have, people feeling angst towards them. Plus, now, even though they're unmasked, it doesn't bode well for the people feeling comfortable. So the lines are still moving slower. They're only there for security purposes.
Yeah, they're not actually like checking bags or anything.
They're just standing there with their guns,
Right.
what have you, trying to give some sense of. So what's the point? It just makes people more hesitant and or just slows up the process, really. Even if they were to help out and were kind of knew how to run the computers or what have you. It's just no way you look at it. If you have clients who are traveling, if you yourself are traveling, have a backup plan. And that is really what it comes down to. Backup plan as in, I have clients leaving on Friday to Europe. I'm pretty sure their flights are going to get out. They're going to have to deal with longer lines. They're flying out of Ontario, California, which is not LAX, but they have two girls with them. And though I can't say, don't go on this trip, you're crazy, I'm kind of like, if I thought my nephew who had an issue coming back from Mongolia was going to be like a harrowing 2-day experience, I'm just dreading anything that happens even while they're gone and not flying somewhere. Because if they're in a city and then all of a sudden the rules change or a flight gets canceled, you have two daughters that is stressing me out because I know in my mind I will get that phone call. And I'm trying to think of when they're in Rome, how do I get them home? When they're in Paris, how do I get them home? If something were to happen or we had a cancellation of flights or what have you, but that's a very real thing. It kind of sucks because there's no way to predict what could potentially happen while we're in this very limbo moment.
So that we talked about this last night a little bit. We as travel agents, we have to be proactive, right? But when it
Yes.
comes to flights, it's almost like we have to be reactive.
You have to be reactive because we're talking about someone like when you talk about flights, someone who has a ticket already, right? As opposed to planning on it, because there's two very different scenarios here. One, you already have a ticket and you need to travel, as opposed to, I want to travel, should I get it now? Two very different situations, right? So let's talk about the one that's what we do. We predict, let's plan travel for someone. You want to go on a trip, whether it's the Bahamas or Europe or Asia, or hey, I got a great discount on Egypt. Everyone's canceling or anywhere near the Middle East. You can find some great deals. It's kind of stunning that no one wants to talk about it. So in that effect, people who are, good God, we have the World Cup happening in a month or two. That okay, one event at a time. Where we're at, if you're planning travel for somebody, people can say, yes, things are open, but what you're going to see in prices is not going to bode well for people's confidence. Prices have gone up already. Jen, we were talking about Hawaii alone from when it was something that you might have been looking at a couple months ago to what it is now. People are canceling, whether it is towards the direction of the Middle East or not, but it's anywhere in the world. And so with that, tour operators, companies are saying already, it's people who are hesitant to book future travel because if you don't have travel already in the books, most likely you're not going to be traveling. You're going to wait it out, see what happens. because at last minute, oh, let's go on a summer trip idea is kind of shot out the window. There's not going to be that spontaneous mass of people trying to book flights all of a sudden, unless things broke up and things got better. Because there's no confidence in the industry. They don't want to wait at the airports. They don't want to sit in lines and then have to potentially be overnighted somewhere waiting for a connecting flight, hoping that it leaves, no matter where you end up going. The further out you have traveled, the better your situation is because at least we don't have to deal with that immediately. But people then start getting, cold feet and then start calling you or texting you saying, hey, is this trip happening still, or can I get my money back, or can I push it till next year? Those are the real talk points that you need to be prepared for because yes, they can most likely. And most companies are now actually putting in additional caveats to say, in light of the ongoing situation, this is our new policy, travel protection, blah, 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 and it all boils down to that. There's so many things to talk about. Is there something that you, Jen, or anybody else think is more important to discuss first? Because I'm not going to choose whether it's dealing with an already booked travel plan, flights, and or trying to plan one brand new one out.
So is this the point where we really push that travel protection? I know we hit on this last night too. Definitely international travel, I always add travel protection. Like I don't even question it, I just add it. For my clients. For domestic travel, do you recommend us adding in that travel protection, especially on flights? And then if we do book flights only direct through like the airlines, and it says, do you want the travel protection? Like even domestic flights, do we recommend doing that?
Has anyone looked at what a flight is costing in the last 48 hours and then seen what prices it would be if you added insurance or something? Because I kid you not, if the prices of the flights go up, the prices of any protection are also, they're going to shift. The algorithms kind of monetize what is the best interest. Because travel protection is a caveat, especially if they cancel for any reason at any time, very popular. That usually is the most reason why people would get it, right? In case something happens at their call or anything else. If an airline cancels a flight due to non-operable, lack of staff, airport closures, you name it, it is on them to make sure that they get you where you need to go. For domestics, I would not worry about that too much because no matter how much protection you have on it, you see that line, everyone else still gets in that line. And that means if you're willing to travel, why not go for the, because the cheapest seat that you bought, whatever, 5 months ago, though it might be super expensive now, it doesn't really hold weight compared to somebody else with a full service ticket because no matter what, everyone is kind of being funneled through a very tiny entry. And so by that default, whatever you thought was going to protect you for the sake of if something were to happen, you canceled, you still have to wait in line to even just get an agent to talk about your case, your scenario. This is backing up on every front that you can imagine. That's even before you're missing bags. You just turn on your fan because I totally felt a breath of.
My window's open.
Cool. And I was like, wait a second, it was your fan.
Oh my God.
There is one thing, it's another. What was
Horrible.
I even talking about? My gosh. My brain totally died when I just.
Does anybody else have questions? I mean, I've asked a lot. I've got it started.
Because this is the ongoing discussion we all should have. How do you prepare? What do you tell people? It's kind of a case by case scenario, but anyone who's not needing to fly should just kind of not spend their money for something that potentially is just causing them more trauma.
One thing I do want to say, especially when they had those things going on in Mexico, on Pacific side of Mexico, we cannot force travelers to travel and never say it's safe. Be careful about how you guide your clients because in the end it's their choice if they want to travel or not. So never say that an area is safe to travel, because if you as their travel agent say it's safe and then something were to happen to them, they can come back on you. Like attorneys, they can sue you. So never say it's safe. Never say, none of that.
And that's a
You,
fine line too, because what you say and how you say it, and Asman puts it in that. What do you say that? Your confidence is what sold them on this trip in the first place, whether it's just a flight, whether it's a package or a lifelong dream itinerary. It is because they were comfortable enough at that time to talk to you. Now, it's not so much as you expect to know when is this all going to end. I mean, unless you're that good, you let me know, because there's no crystal ball that anyone can use right now to kind of predict what will end up happening. What you say, though, is important. People need to understand that. They need to know their options from the get go. The first thing they're probably going to do if they do call you is something, again, be prepared. What they would most likely going to ask is, so, in light of all this stuff, what would happen if I decided to cancel? Do you know your answer to that? Because obviously, we don't want them to cancel, but like Jen said, we can't sit there and tell them, oh, hey, it's gonna be fine. I was there last month and it was like nobody, no problems. That is a problem, because what you're saying to them is ill-advised confidence. So people need to know what their options are. If you have clients right now, look at where their trip is and what it all involves. Be ready to answer that. Yes, we can postpone this for another year, given the situation, if that's your reason for wanting to not go now, or if they want to go somewhere else entirely. Even flights are being optioned to say, certain situations, and the current situation in the Middle East, here are your options in the amendment to what we had said initially at the time of booking for the rules online. People have to know that you know what you're talking about. It's, again, not about knowing everything. It's about being very real with them, because they can tell when you don't know something, and that's most likely why they would not have gone with you had they felt otherwise at the time. But they felt comfortable with you, so now they need to know that you know what to do if something were to happen. Give them the backup plan as far as if they need to delay the trip, flights included or not, just whatever it is. But then also be prepared to give them the options for saying, okay, so you might not want to go there. How about over here? And, ultimately, the reason that people are probably going to cancel is because it's going to cost them way too much, whether they've already booked this trip and paid for it, knowing just how much you're going to end up having to spend just for the sake of food costs and or any other ancillary project or tours. Those all prices are going to go up. So they're trying to see, if we go, we might have an empty plane, great, but we're going to still pay an arm and a leg when we get to, destination. Is it worth it? That is it worth it part is what's going to be the ultimate deciding factor. And so you need to kind of have that cost effective. Is it worth it to go? Or what, is it worth it to postpone? Or is it worth it to just cancel it altogether? But it really depends on what your trip is. So you need to be very aware of that. And if it is just a flight, probably easier to deal with than a whole package deal, because now you have different elements that really could quantify factor and importance level more so than the other. The hotel is great, but the timing is bad. But there's a great buffet that comes with it, and then that's another thing too. Is that property or places that they're going to stay offering any other incentive on their own as is, without even the airlines involved, to encourage customers to come, stay longer, or move their plans? And there's a lot of that happening right now. I'm so sorry. Hotels trying to kind of get their customers in are also seeing a drop in bookings. I mean, Vegas alone already is hurting before this craziness. You want to see some good deals? Look at Vegas right now. It is insane. Their hotels overnight, some of these five-star places that you thought you could never stay at. If they wanted to do convention right, they could get at the Four Seasons in Vegas right now, probably for the same as they get at the South Point. Joy. But yeah,
oh, go
sorry.
ahead. No,
No,
go ahead.
you
Oh,
speak
um,
first.
I know at one point a few years ago, they were telling us, I just remember seeing this somewhere. If your flight, or I'm sorry, if your drive to your destination is less than, was it 6 hours or 9 hours? Just drive. Don't even take the airplane. That was like right maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I think, 3, 4 years ago. Um, I don't know why. I don't even know what was going on then.
No,
But
there was.
what was
I mean,
going on then?
I think we were just coming out of the pandemic, and then we had, um, wasn't it winter storms? Oh, something it was in the fall.
It was something. I remember them saying that. Like, if your flight's less than 9 hours, just drive to the destination. Don't even take the airport. Are we at that point now, especially if it's domestic? I mean, obviously international, you're not driving, but
Well, what's it to you? Because people who travel for business and have to go somewhere still have to get in that line. It means that they get in that line. It sucks for them, and wait like everybody else and hope that their flight leaves on time, no matter how much time. If you have more time, great. But if you have to do something very quickly and turn around and come back home, it's pointless because you might not even get to your destination by the time you need to be ready to be back. And that's the reality of where we're at because people have to factor in how long is your trip and where are you going? How far is your destination point? And is it worth it? Because at the end of the day, with cost prices going up, including food, or yada yada yada, ultimately companies are going to look at it like, oh, it's going to cost us way too much. Let's just postpone this or cancel it altogether. And that has a trickle down effect. And like I said with Vegas, the fact that they're already offering deals to try to get people to come back in, airlines have already realized, and because the demand in Vegas has gone down, which has usually got so many flights a day, are kind of taking away those flights that go to places like Vegas that are kind of not making money and repurposing their flights and their staff elsewhere, especially right now. So if you don't have to travel, I would advise just to wait and see what happens because there is so much that doesn't really equate to how a normal process would go because so many factors hitting us all at once. And like I said, the World Cup is happening and kicking off mid-June. World Cup this year is happening simultaneously in about 12, 15 cities across U.S., North Canada, and Mexico, which means World Cup as it is, if it was in like one place or one city, has thousands of people coming in, their fans. They're going to be traveling to all these cities simultaneously. How is that going to happen if there's not flights going to the cities? And or people coming in from another country just can't get into the country. It's already causing a cluster blanket, like in a lot of ways for tour operators that are hotels and businesses that are relying on those tourism dollars from the World Cup. And worst case scenario just gets canceled. Well, that could happen as well. But then what do you do with all these people who are flying and already have tickets and hotel reservations and all this trip time? It's a mess. So how do we handle that here in the US? And if we are still in a government shutdown, oh my gosh, we're so screwed. That makes my head hurt just to think about the repercussions of having not enough staff for all these thousands of additional people traveling, all coming into the US at once. That's gonna be so fun. I don't even know where I left off in my brain just now because it just was like went to another place. Because I worst case scenario I imagine is exactly what I do for this family that's starting to Europe on Friday. I have to look at every point of it and see what is a potential backup for them if something were to happen and they needed to get home. With two daughters, it's so fun, right? But that's what you need to do because as a travel agent, there's so much that could happen, but you don't know what those potentials could be. And so at the moment, all you can do is just be prepared. Be ready to tell your client, hey, listen, everything looks like a go, but if you go, just know the potential of, whatever could happen, anything could happen. We don't know. Does anyone else have any insight on that? Because again, it's kind of more of an obvious glaring point other than a hard, true answer because I can give you facts, I can give you statistics, but even talking about a new airline route launch is pointless if no one is going to be getting on that flight anyhow if it were to launch. And there's some great, exciting routes launching in the next few months that will likely not end up happening if we're still in the situation that we're in. That could very well affect y'all. But the thing is, we will survive whatever it is, unless, of course, we get dragged into a war-ish. But we have so much to consider because no matter where you are, no matter what you plan to do, no matter what you know, there's no easy way around this. There's no other line or other person you can contact to get you or your client ahead of the craziness because everyone's got to deal with it together, which in a good way, kumbaya-ish. We all hold hands and try to, but do people have patience? Do people just, are they selfish? Do they get greedy? They get pushy in minds? Hell yeah. So the real thing is the same thing with you. They're going to get testy, pushy, even in dealing with their travel that they booked maybe months ago. And now you have to deal with whatever it is, because whatever it is, as long as you at least had some insight, took the initiative to prepare what you have to deal with, just know your options. Just make sure any travel plans you have, especially in the flights and hotels, you have a backup option if they just want to change some portion of it or the whole thing entirely. Make sure you read the caveats, and also what an airlines, they're updating constantly on their websites, whether it's a government issued place, the airline websites are all updating their rules to how to deal with the ongoing stuff with regards to both the war in the Middle East and then also this ongoing shortage of staff in our airports in the United States. And advising you, obviously, it's better to wait longer lines, get to the airports earlier, pack less, try not to pack anything at all, try not to go, leave your kids at home, don't forget about the dog, all these things that we really didn't have to think about. The flights were going, people are going to get there somehow. But now you don't even know if that route is going to maintain all their flights that they normally do each day. And that in and of itself is kind of scary. Does anyone else have passengers traveling in the next week?
I was just looking up before we get Marie's question. I was just looking up Evo Plus for Vegas. Yeah, there's some really good deals right now. So you guys, instant commission, definitely check
It's
out
kind
that
of crazy.
Evo Plus.
Wow, such a deal. But then you think, well, what is that going to cost me really?
The Paris Hotel for a pool view room on Expedia is $860, and on Evo Plus it's $389. So
Wait,
$500.
yeah, but what room is that?
The pool view. The Bordeaux. Hold on. Let me go back here. The Versailles Pool View Room King for June 10th or June 14th.
I mean, we're talking about right before World Cup, and Vegas is one of the destination points, I think, for World Cup. Isn't it? Oh, it's gonna be so hot there either way. No
Um,
matter what.
oh, yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
there's good deals. So definitely check that out for instant commission. And people can drive there too.
Yeah, you
Uh,
can. To get down to Maria's point,
yeah,
say we
so
have
go ahead. You can read it.
a higher price and risk the disruption. Can we prepare beyond looking at flight options? How do we advise the client at that point? When you say beyond looking at flight options, what is that?
So we have a client that is willing to pay the higher prices and risk the disruption. So they want to travel. They want to pay the higher prices and go travel. Can we
Beyond?
prepare beyond looking at flight options? How do we advise the client at that point? So get the travel protection? Is
Oh,
that what you're
is that
saying?
what you're saying? Beyond looking at flight options, or are you saying in addition to a hotel, a tour, or what are you saying, Marie? Or am I dumb not to know what you're talking? Because I know what you're talking about, but I feel like there's one more point to looking at flight options. Are you talking about
So the
other things?
client, so basically, I think she's saying the clients want to travel. They don't care what they're paying. They want to go. So how do we prepare the client for disruption? So whatever isn't included in their package, whether it's full package or flight only. So basically, how are we preparing the client for any disruptions that might happen if even
Oh,
though they want to go? Is that what you're saying?
if okay, I think also too, if
Yes.
we're looking at that, it has to be what
Me.
is the purpose of this trip? Is it more of a is it a vacation and they want to do a vacation no matter what? Or is it because it's not going to be a vacation, obviously, if they have to sit in a line and be overnighted somewhere. That's not a vacation. But if they have to do for travel for work and it includes a hotel and maybe a car rental, which is still a package, yeah, those are two very kind of not different, but still different scenarios as to why people want to travel. People already know if they're not going to feel comfortable traveling, they're not going to travel. So what you need to advise those who want to go most likely have a real good reason and or are just so stir crazy for whatever reason they'll pay the higher price just to get somewhere not stir crazy. So no matter what, those people who have that money to do all of that kind of there's not much to advise them on because they already know the risk. They're willing to throw their dollars on it. And there will be people who want that. But those few and far between is what you need to advise them on. This is what you are up against. Honestly, regardless of what they want to book or have you book, they just need to know what they're up against should something happen. And that means every element of it.
So remember when Jamaica had that hurricane just a few months ago and people traveled anyway,
Jamaica,
even like a day before the hurricane came, they went and traveled.
Jamaica, you mean?
What?
Still traveling to Jamaica, or are you talking about other
Yeah,
places?
they still traveled to on their vacation to Jamaica.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
think I think one of the best ways to answer this is people are going to travel regardless. They're gonna, because I know it sounds like we should tell travelers not to travel. You can't tell travelers not to travel. You can't tell somebody not to go somewhere. You can't tell somebody to go somewhere. So I think people are going to go regardless, no matter if you could say, like that hurricane is supposed to hit in 2 days, you're landing, there today. I mean, they're going to go if they want to go, you know?
Yes, and there's that too, because if they're comfortable to do whatever it is to risk their lives, whatever, God bless, you also have the right to say, listen, I don't feel comfortable putting this together. I mean, it's not to say that it's your fault, but there are some instances where you don't want to like tell them, no, you can't travel, but also it is probably as you see it, not the wisest thing for whatever reason they want to do it. But some people need to get places. So it really is where do you stand on this? And also, too, if you're giving them all these, just be aware of, well, tell that to yourself because as a travel agent, you need to know what you are responsible for, what you will be on your shoulders should, pardon me, something hit the fan. Because most likely something's going to hit the fan. And more often than not, it's not going to smell very pretty. So how much are you willing to put up with? Because at that point, you have to also hold your ground and say, okay, you know what? I'm not trying to not say I can't, you shouldn't travel, but I don't feel comfortable. And that's really, you have to be honest with yourself. I would not advise putting somebody in a situation, especially if you're new and don't know what, all the components of travel are and even dealing with just travel protection for a flight. You have to understand every aspect of what it is you're selling to the T right now and be totally transparent about it. No ifs or what's about it because people will be willing to pay whatever if there's a situation and it will get them home faster and safe. But if they can avoid it altogether, that's your responsibility in the moment if they're trying to book travel.
And this is why it's also too to have those terms and conditions on your itinerary, like on your final itinerary when you send them out to your clients. It's very important to have that so that way you have that in your terms, you know, on advisal of not to travel to Iran right now. You went anyway. So this is not going to be my
I don't know if you can book a trip to Iran right now. I
Yeah,
think
I don't think you can either. That was not a very good example, but
great one there.
but
Oh
it's
God,
important.
it was my
It's
Thursday.
yeah, but it's very important to have that in your TNC, in your terms and conditions on your itinerary that you send to your clients. So that way, they say like, on advisory or whatever.
And even though even if you don't have it, it might also be wise to update your terms and conditions because what we might not have thought was a thing. Well, this is the second time in less than a year we're dealing with a government shutdown affecting travel. And that's before even talking about a war. But the reality is now we have to consider what is going on with these war things because that disrupts travel also. But now it's a very real thing. If those things need to be kind of, oh my gosh, look at these lines just to get into the airport. Ooh, it is a mess out there, y'all. You want to wait in that line? Yeah, I'll book your travel. I think also you should have a picture, a recent
Wait,
one.
are you watching the news right now?
Well, it's on in the background.
Oh,
It's right over here. And I'm
don't
just
watch the
seeing these
news.
lines.
The news is bad.
Well, it's again, it's you don't have to watch news, but it also helps keep you updated as far as what's really happening in travel and what's happening at these lines. And those people who are traveling need to get somewhere because whether it's a book trip or it's a work trip, they don't have really little alternative. You just have to be ready for that alternative if it does happen, and they book for you. I, no. We should not tell travelers not to travel unless it's somewhere in the Middle East around where this is. I think, Marie, that's probably the biggest advice because you can't tell someone if they need to travel to places like Lebanon, even or even Egypt, they have to go at their own risk. But if the U.S. government has already alerted all consulates and embassies worldwide because in light of the situation going on in the Middle East, to be wary of foreigners, U.S. citizens abroad, to be very wary of where they are, and to take heed, notice of all the little things in their peripheral as far as their area, whether it's a hotel or an event and something when traveling abroad, because right now there's a lot of angst towards the U.S. for good reason. So that's not a made-up thing. They've already issued these warnings, and you know your risks. But I think no matter where you go, it's a very interesting time because unlike during the pandemic when everything shut down for the same reason, there's very different reasons for why it's shutting down right now for different countries and or just trying to prepare for what is next. Just read the fine print, but also make sure you know what your backup plan is and have an idea as to what you're going to suggest if they want an alternative.
And Ben has a gift card for the first person who can type in the website where you should go to find
Yes,
what's going on.
the first person who does type that, thank you, Chad, for reminding me. It's 75 cents, but in light of today's, real.
Triple it.
We'll give away, Jen will also, yeah, we will give away a gift card to at least one person's lunch.
So
If you get that.
who's the first person to type in the website where you should go to find information on the countries your clients are traveling to? Marie, travel.state.gov. Thank you.
Marie, congratulations.
Travel.state.gov.
You have a choice of the following: McDonald's, Taco Bell, Starbucks, or Big Wang Chicken Wings. Or if you want to gift that to towards a nonprofit of your choice, Mars Children Forever.
Yes, travel.state.gov, guys. Put that in your favorites, your browser.
And I think
Know
there's an
that
app.
website.
An app.
It said Amazon.
She's so Amazon. It was not on the list. It's something to eat.
You can order food on Amazon.
You can't. Can you? I mean,
Uh-huh.
other than groceries, you can't order. Fine, you want a freaking 20? I'll get you Amazon. Are you sure? I know you like to eat for those late night snacks that you need to. You're not always going to have pork adobo at 3 a.m. Okay, what fast foods do you like? Okay, Nalang, I got you, but don't talk to me like that. I make my own foods, my own. Okay, fine. You know what? I try to encourage this to be about fooding or biting into something. But everyone, yes. Is there a government? Is there? Do they have the app, Jen?
Travel.state.gov. I don't know. Let's look.
No, there was. I can't remember because there is another app that is wise to have, especially if you're coming into the US. Where is it? For TSA, those things are really fast. So I'm not quite sure how they're dealing with that right now.
There's Smart Traveler app.
Um,
Is that it? Or My TSA?
Wait, is that the US? Yeah.
Mobile passport. Yeah, that's not it. Check my trip travel itinerary.
My trip is a.
So My TSA, Smart Traveler, and what was the other one that I had? Oh, passport renewal. You don't want that.
Well,
What's Smart
depending on
Traveler?
you can get the app too, because some of them
My
just have that.
TSA isn't being updated because of the funding at the moment. Okay, so don't do My TSA. Smart Traveler looks like it could be part of your travel.state.gov.
Okay, so it's associated with that. Because yes, those are the latest and greatest
Oh, that's
solutions.
the STEP, Smart Traveler Enrollment Program.
Wait, the steps.
STEP, Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. So check that one out too. That's yes.
And these could very well be updated too by the time we talk next. The real
Correct.
thing is you might even have a new app period for the US government, traveling for the State Department advised just as an app, all of stuff. Oof. You just have to breathe and just take it with what it's worth. You're not, I think the bookings are already going down. Has anyone seen an uptick in bookings for them or a kind of a exact opposite? Feel free to say it, you guys, because I think at this point we're just. Has anyone gotten a flurry of bookings for whatever reason?
Anyway.
You've gotten a lot of bookings for anything.
Oh no, I was slow this month.
Me, who's really Marie?
Hurry.
Okay. What did you get an uptick in? Okay, well, considering. Oh, so, but that was this month at the very beginning of this, Amber, or something that was ongoing for a couple months?
Good job, Amber.
Are we talking about March? Are we talking about
No, we're
March?
talking about March. We're in March.
Yeah, I booked a lot this month, but I think it's even sort of before that's been kind of ongoing. Like I did get 30 people have to go to, that's kind of scary, next, then this month of April from just San Diego to Atlanta. Yes, but have any of those clients, Marie, those, and then for you, Amber, any of them ask or inquire about what would happen if they change and or potential of interest to move it to another date or time frame? Either of you? Because I'm not saying, yeah, great, those are good things to have booked, but that's going to be a real topic to kind of prepare for. Because whether it is Germany, whether it's Hawaii, South Korea, San Diego, the DR, yes, most likely there's going to be an uptick in travel anywhere into places like the Caribbean on cruises, stuff that's relatively close to home. However, it will still be a little dicey because prices are going to be going up no matter how you look at it. And what you have to prepare for is what is the alternative if your clients decide to do otherwise. That's what it comes down to because every week, every day, they're getting updates. And I'm just waiting to see where these airport or the flight launches for new routes when they start canceling those altogether just because it's not wise to even try to celebrate a new route for something that's probably not going to be profitable anyhow. Oh, it sucks because again, this is all indicative of what is still kind of in the books of maybe going to happen, or if it's a matter of when. I can't tell. Any analyst can't say. But what the trends are showing is prices are going up. Demand is going through the roof for certain aspects of travel. But the reality is, to what cost? Additional costs just to get to the airport, longer lines at the airport, baggage fees, potential of being delayed and or cancel flights when already checking them at the airport. All those things are something that we cannot tell is going to happen. This is my question. How do we advise them off that chance of disruption versus playing it out as a guaranteed disruption? What's a guaranteed disruption?
There are no guaranteed disruptions.
Thank you, Jen.
Unless COVID hits again, I guess. Well, I'm just kind of thinking logistically here. Like guaranteed disruptions, unless you are sending, clients right now because we know there's stuff going on in the Middle East. Like you don't know what's going to happen in Germany in 2027. Just like I have, clients going on that Mediterranean cruise in 2027. We can't control what's going to happen, a year from now. So I mean, yeah, get them booked. And then when that time comes, that's just my way of thinking of it, you know, like you might as well get it, book them if they want to, go in 2027. There's no way to control that. Just like when COVID hit and the world shut down in that one day,
It was
you can't.
advisable though, Jen, just and again, since we're talking about flights, because depending on when in 2027, flight prices are going to reflect what they are now, because you can't even do it 8 months out without seeing prices really high. This is based on assumption that we're still dealing with all these problems. So they're going to be higher if you book it out this far out. If you're booking now, if you already have it booked out in the past, I just keep it as is and wait till we get to next year. But to book into next year, if we're most likely including the flight, it's going to be way more than it probably should be further out you go. The deals are right now and what you can do for last minute travel within the next 2 weeks. I wouldn't book too much further out than that unless clients are pretty solid on the or plans and have to get somewhere. Well, most
Well,
likely people
you can't book 330 days out in advance anyway.
right. But even if people are planning to do Christmas holiday travel now, would I advise it? I'd wait to see what happens, because what you're going to see that for right now is probably what your prices are going to be right now in this mess, because they can't even project what those prices are, let alone those routes are going to be even 8 months out. So it's advised if you need to send someone traveling that it's happening within the next 2, maybe month at most. And that's not it's a gauge to say book it sooner than later for something that's happening within the next month or so. I wouldn't try to plan something in June or July amidst the summer craziness and when World Cup kicks off, if this potentially could still be going on, because oil prices aren't going to bounce back right away. It's such a crazy thing to think about, but I'm thinking all worst case scenarios that I'm not even wanting to talk about just to get people all fired up. You can only do so much with your clients. You can only say so much, but just be prepared what you're planning to say. Have an alternate backup for what potentially could be an alternative if they needed to change or cancel something. But also be very real. If it is brand new travel and people say, I got this deal from Cunard that did that for a cruise in 2027. If they haven't already booked it, I have to think about this too. My parents wanted to go on this cruise in freaking August, September. Either way, yeah, there's a component of flights involved. I'm just thinking, they'll trust me. And thank God they have me to at least be able to get them to point A and B if something were to happen. But for anybody else, if you're not sure if this flight is still going to happen, say in 2 to 3 weeks, then you need to really consider what you have an alternative if your clients are flexible. Because it's not, again, saying you can't travel. You can do it. But just know the risks. And the risks right now are very high that potentially could be avoided and you really have to decide, you know, be, transparent with your clients, be honest with them. What's the difference now? Cause versus causing them to fear the trip. Well, it's the fear of the trip is when they talk to you and the hesitancy in your voice. That's going to cause them to fear the trip first and foremost. If they don't feel confident in you and you don't have confidence in yourself to at least convey what it's the real thing, you don't have to tell them all the details of why the world is so messed up right now. I think they can figure that out on their own. You don't. It's not like, oh, I did not know that. It's like, please. They know that. It's just more so that they need to hear it from somebody that they trust. And those people that I have traveling on Friday trust me completely. It's not that I second guess myself. I just know that there are what if worst case scenarios that I haven't even thought of that potentially could happen. And in this time are very real possibilities. And so those real possibilities just have to be ready, prepared for as best as you can, which is know what your options are if something were to happen at every step of the way. And I'm not sure I know that yet. But yes, you do need to explain it to them in addition to a disclaimer for changes or disruptions, but also you need to do that active part. Whatever airline it is that they're traveling, especially, go to their website now and very real time see what the updates are as for what changes and disruptions would cost them and or be if something were to happen. In addition to car rentals, in addition to hotels, no matter if it's a package deal or not, just looking at what the caveats are for the package, say something like Vax or Expedia Tap, is one thing. But it goes beyond that. You need to do your due diligence, not just that company, but also to the individual supplier as far as the airline, the car rental company, the transfer company service, and the hotel. You need to do your part because you can advise as much, but if you don't at least prepare and make sure you've read all the, crossed the I's and dotted all the T's and dotted the I's. Whatever, you get my point. That said, any questions or thoughts? Because again, I know this was just a lot of me jibber jabbering. I'm so hungry right now.
I know. I'm gonna have to hop off here. So do we have any last minute questions, concerns, anything?
Concerns? Have you changed your mind, Marie? You still want Amazon?
Going once, going twice. Oh, Amazon. Marie said Amazon. She didn't want you to forget.
If I don't have your email that you associated with it, how isn't that how you send? Right?